Kindness. What a funny little trick. It's like handing someone a sharp blade and expecting them not to use it against you. That's what they don't tell you, right? They don't warn you that the more you give, the easier it is for them to twist it into your chest. And you, sitting there, bleeding out, wondering why they saw your kindness. And instead of seeing it as a gift, they marked you as prey. You were kind, so you must be weak. You were forgiving, so you must be foolish. That's how their twisted little minds work. They don't see the strength it takes to stay gentle in a world built on brutality. No, they see a target, a puppet. They can string along, a pawn. They can sacrifice. And you let them. You let them, didn't you, out of some naive belief that the world could be as kind as you were. But it's not. It never was kindness. Was never your flaw. It was your power. But they made you question it. They took that power and twisted it into a noose around your neck. They made you feel like you were the broken one. Like you were too soft for this cold, cold world, and you believed them. You let their cruelty rewrite your story. You handed out pieces of yourself like candy, and they took it all. They left you empty, hollow, like a discarded shell. They fed on your goodness, your light, like parasites. And when there was nothing left to take, they spat you out, left you for dead. And now, here you are, broken, beaten, but still breathing. Because here's the thing they never saw coming. Kindness wasn't your weakness. It was your choice. It was a conscious decision to be better, to rise above the filth they wallow in, and that terrifies them. It's why they had to break you. They needed to bring you down to their level, make you doubt yourself, because the idea of someone like you, a good person, existing in their world, it's unthinkable. You thought if you were kind enough, they'd see it, they'd change. You thought you could save them. But some people can't be saved. They live in the dark, and your light only reminds them of everything they're not. They couldn't handle your brightness, so they tried to snuff it out. Let me tell you something they don't want you to know. It's not your kindness that was the problem. It's their inability to understand it, to accept it. They saw your open hands, and they only knew how to bite. That's not on you. That's on them. But here's the real kicker. You're still here. You're still standing after everything they threw at you. Every knife in the back. Every lie whispered in the dark. You're still here. And that's what they fear most. Because now you see them for what they are. Leeches. Vultures circling around what they think is a carcass. But you're not dead yet. No. You're just getting started. They tried to kill the kindness in you, but they don't realize that kindness isn't about letting people walk all over you. It's about choosing not to stomp on them when you easily could. It's about knowing you have the power to destroy the choosing to heal instead, and that takes a kind of strength they will never, ever understand. They'll tell you to toughen up, to become like them. Cold, callous, ruthless. They'll say it's the only way to survive. But that's a lie. They want you to believe that, because it justifies their own cruelty. It makes them feel less guilty about the blood on their hands. But you don't need to change who you are. You need to realize the strength in what you've been all along. Your kindness was a weapon sharper than any blade they could wield. It's why they feared you. It's why they had to tear you down. Because deep down, they knew they couldn't control someone like you. They knew you weren't like them, and that terrified them. So here's what you do now. You take every scar, every broken piece, and you wear it like armor. You don't hide it. You don't let it make you bitter or cold. You let it fuel you. You let it remind you that you've survived what was meant to destroy you. And then you rise. You rise not as someone who's lost their kindness, but as someone who's embraced it fully, who's learned that kindness isn't about being a doormat. It's about standing tall in the face of all that darkness and saying, "You couldn't break me." They'll hate you for it. They'll try to tear you down again. Make no mistake, they'll come at you with everything they've got. Because people like them, they can't stand the idea that someone like you exists. But this time, you're ready. You know what they are. You see them clearly now, and you don't flinch, you don't bend, you don't break. Because the greatest act of defiance, the greatest revenge, is staying kind in a world that tried to turn you cold. They wanted you broken, but you're not broken, you're reborn. They wanted you broken, but you're not broken, you're reborn. You see, that's what they never understood. They think kindness is a weakness because they've never had the courage to be kind. It's easy to be cruel. Anyone can throw a punch, spread a lie, stab someone in the back. It takes nothing, no guts, no bravery. It's the easiest thing in the world to be cold, to shut everyone out, to hurt before you get hurt. But you chose the harder path. You chose to keep your heart open, even when the world handed you every reason to close it up and throw away the key. That's not weakness. That's strength. That's the kind of strength that can't be taught, can't be faked. It's the kind of strength that terrifies people because it's real. They saw you smiling, being kind, and they thought you were easy prey. They didn't see the battles you fought inside your own head every single day. It just to keep that smile. They didn't see the nights you spent lying awake, replaying every betrayal, every harsh word, trying to figure out what you did wrong. Because that's what you do right. You blame yourself. You think if you were just a little tougher, a little colder, they wouldn't have hurt you. You think it's your fault that they took advantage of your kindness. But here's the truth. It's not your fault. It never was. The fault lies with them. With the ones who couldn't understand that kindness isn't something you exploit. It's something you cherish. It's something you protect. They saw you as a fool, but they're the real fools. Because while they were busy trying to tear you down, they didn't realize they were building something inside you. They were shaping you into something they can never be. Someone who's been through hell but still chooses to see the good in people. Someone who's been shattered but still stands tall. You see, they wanted you to become like them. Hardened, bitter, filled with hate. They wanted your heart to turn to stone so they could justify their own emptiness. But you didn't give them that satisfaction. You didn't let them turn you into a monster. You stayed human, and that's what makes you dangerous. You're a different kind of monster now, aren't you? Not the kind that destroys everything in its path, just because it can be. No. You're the kind that can look into the abyss and still find a way back. You're the kind that carries scars, not as wounds, but as proof that you survived. They don't have that kind of strength. They crumble the moment life gets hard, hide behind their masks and pretend they're untouchable. But you faced every storm, and here you are still standing. You were kind because, in people, you saw the good even when it was buried deep beneath the surface. But now, Now you know better. You see the world for what it is. You see people for who they are, and you're not fooled anymore. You're not naive, you're awake, and that scares them more than anything. They wanted you to become numb, to shut off your emotions, because that's how they survive. They can't feel anything, so they don't understand the power of someone who does. They don't understand the rage that comes from betrayal, the fire that burns when someone takes your kindness and spits in your face. But now you do. Now you know exactly what you're capable of, and it's not about revenge. It's not about becoming like them. It's about knowing that you could, but choosing not to. It's about looking them in the eye and smiling, knowing they couldn't destroy the best parts of you. Even when they tried with everything they had, you could become just as cold, just as ruthless. But what would that prove that they were right? That you were weak all along? No. You're stronger than that. Stronger than any of them could ever understand. Because while they spent their time tearing others down, you've been building yourself up. You've been taking every hit, every insult, of every betrayal and using it as fuel. And now you're unstoppable. They think you're still the same person, the one they could manipulate, the one they could hurt without consequences. But you're different now. You've learned. You've adapted. You still have your kindness, but it's sharpened like a blade. It's no longer something they can use against you. It's something you wield with precision, cutting through their lies, their games, their bullshit. They'll come back. You know, they always do. They'll slither back into your life with apologies and excuses because they never expected you to rise. They thought you'd stay down, stay broken. But when they see you now, when they see the fire in your eyes, they won't know what to do. And that's your power. You get to choose now. You get to decide who's worth your time, your energy, your kindness. You get to decide who you let in and who you shut out. They don't control you anymore. They don't get to dictate your story, because this is your life, and you've taken back the pen. You're writing the next chapter, and it's not a tragedy. It's a story of survival, of strength, of someone who refused to let the darkness consume them. It's a story they'll never understand, because they've never had to fight the way you have. So, what's next for you? Do you let their actions turn you into something you're not? Do you close off your heart and become like them? Empty, bitter, afraid? Or do you take everything they threw at you, everything they did to try and break you, and use it to become stronger than ever? I think you know the answer you've always known. They treated your kindness like a weakness. They mistook your softness for fragility. But now they'll see it for what it really is. A weapon, a shield, and a strength they can't touch. And that's the beauty of it. You're still kind, you're still good, but you're not the same. You've evolved, you've grown, and now you're everything they feared you could be. So go ahead, show them. Show them what happens when they underestimate someone who's kind. Show them what happens when you push a good person too far because they made a mistake when they thought they could break you, and now you're going to show them just how strong kindness can be. Oh, they made a mistake, all right. A mistake they can never undo. They thought they knew you. They thought they had you all figured out. A kind heart, easy prey, someone who forgives too easily, a perfect victim. But the truth is, they never really saw you. They saw what they wanted to see. A mirror that made them feel better about their own ugliness. A punching bag for their insecurities. They saw a softness they thought they could manipulate. A goodness they could take advantage of. But here's the part they never counted on. You're still standing. You're still breathing. You've taken every hit, every betrayal, every lie, and you've absorbed, curbed it like poison in your veins, and instead of killing you, it's made you immune. It's made you stronger. It's made you dangerous because now you know what you're dealing with. Now you see them for what they are. They thought they could break you down, make you question your own worth. But all they did was reveal their own weakness. They showed you who they really are. To cowards, hiding behind cruelty, pretending to be strong because they've never known what true strength is. True strength isn't about how hard you can hit. It's about how many times you can get hit and keep moving forward. It's about looking the devil in the eye and saying, "Is that all you've got?" It's about refusing to be anything other than who you are. No matter how many times the world tries to change you, and look at you now. They threw everything at you, and here you are still standing tall. They wanted to turn you into something bitter and broken, but all they did was give you clarity. They thought your kindness was a sign of weakness, but it was your greatest weapon all along. It's what kept you going when everyone else gave up. It's what made you stronger, not weaker, because you know what kindness really is. It's not about letting people walk all over you. It's about having the strength to stand up and say enough. It's about knowing your worth and not settling for anything less. It's about looking at the people who tried to tear you down and saying, "You don't get to decide who I am. I do." They thought they could. They could control you. They thought they could mold you into something small, something broken. But they underestimated you. They didn't realize that every time they pushed you down, you were learning, you were growing, you were becoming something more. And now you're a force they can't even begin to comprehend. You've got this fire inside you, this unbreakable will, and it terrifies them because they know they can't manipulate you anymore. They know they can't use your kindness against you. You've turned their biggest weapon into your greatest strength. They don't know what to do with someone like you. Someone who's been hurt but refuses to become hateful. Someone who's been betrayed but still chooses to trust someone who's been broken, but uses the pieces to build something even stronger. They don't know what to do with you because they've never met anyone like you before. You see, they're used to people who give up, who crumble under the weight of their own pain. They're used to people who become just as cruel, just as heartless, because that's the only way they know how to survive. But you're different. You're something else entirely. You took everything they threw at you and turned it into fuel. You turned it into power. They see you now, and they realize they've created their own worst nightmare. They tried to destroy you, and instead, they forged you into something unbreakable. They wanted you weak, but they made you strong. They wanted you silent, but now, your voice is louder than ever. And that voice, it's the sound of every lie they ever told you being shattered. It's the sound of every doubt they planted in your head being ripped out by the roots. It's the sound of someone who's finally realized their own worth, their own power. You thought you were alone in this, didn't you? You thought you were the only one who felt like this, betrayed, discarded, like your kindness was a curse instead of a gift. But you're not alone. There are others out there just like you, who've been burned by the people they trusted most. And they need someone like you. They need to see that it's possible to survive, to thrive, even after everything. Because when you rise, you give them permission to rise too. When you stand up and say, "You didn't break me." You give them hope. You show them that it's okay to be kind. Even in a world that tries to tear you apart, for you show them that it's not the kindness that needs to change. It's the world they'll hate you for it. You know they'll resent you for being everything they could never be. They'll try to pull you back down, try to convince you that you're still weak, still naive. But you know better now. You know that the real strength was inside you all along. It wasn't something they could take away no matter how hard they tried. So, what do you do now? You keep going. You keep being kind. But this time, you do it with your eyes wide open. This time, you know the difference between people who deserve your kindness and people who just want to take advantage of it. You don't close off your heart, but you protect it. You don't let them change who you are, but you learn to guard yourself against their poison. Because that's the lesson, isn't it? It's not about becoming like them. It's about staying true to yourself. Even when the world tries to make you forget who you are. They wanted to break you, but they failed. They wanted to turn your kindness into a curse, but you turned it into your armor. They wanted you to become like them, but instead, you became something they can never touch you, became unbreakable. So go on. Let them see what they've created. Let them see the monster they tried to make out of you, only to find out that you're not a monster at all. You're something far more dangerous. You're a good person who's been to hell and back, and decided to keep fighting anyway. And there's nothing in this world more powerful than that. Let them watch you now, standing tall with every scar, every wound, every piece of your broken heart stitched together with the thread of your own resilience. You've turned their hate into fuel. You've turned their betrayal into wisdom. And now you walk forward unafraid because you know exactly who you are. And that, my friend, is worst nightmare. Ah, you thought they'd appreciate your kindness, didn't you? You thought if you just kept giving, if you just kept loving, it would be enough to change them. But people like them don't change. They don't see your kindness as a gift. They see it as an opportunity, a chance to take to bleed you dry until there's nothing left. They took your trust, your vulnerability, and twisted it like a knife. And the sick part, they laughed while they did it. They enjoyed watching you crumble, enjoyed the control, the power it gave them become because they thought they were strong, thought they were untouchable, while they were feeding off your light like parasites. But what they didn't realize is that they weren't draining you. They were sharpening you. Every ounce of your pain became a weapon. Every betrayal became a shield. And now you're standing here forged from the fires they set to burn you down. They never saw it coming. They expected you to crawl back, to beg to become another one of their broken playthings. But here's the thing. You're not broken. You were never broken. Bent, maybe cracked, definitely, but broken never. They underestimated the power of someone who's hit rock bottom and decided to dig their way out with bloody bare hands. You learned something down there, didn't you, in the darkness when you were all alone? You realize something they'll never understand. You realize that the only person you can rely on is yourself. You realized that kindness isn't about being a doormat. It's about having the strength to choose not to become like them. It's about standing tall, even when everything inside you screams to give up, to close off, to turn cold. But you didn't turn cold, did you? No. You turned into something far worse for them. You became resilient. you became unbreakable. You became the kind of person who can look them in the eye and smile, knowing you've seen the ugliest parts of humanity, and still decided to keep your heart open. They hate that about you. Oh, they despise it because you remind them of everything they're not, everything they could never be. They see your strength, and it makes them feel small, insignificant. It makes them realize that their cruelty was never power. It was just fear disguised as toughness. You've figured it out now, haven't you? You see the game for what it is. They feed on people like you because they're empty inside. They've got this black hole where their soul should be, and they try to fill it with other people's light. They take and take, hoping it'll make them feel whole, make them feel alive. But it never works, does it? They're left just as hollow, just as dead inside as before. And now they've got blood on their hands. And you've got scars. But those scars, they're not something to hide. They're not marks of shame. They're proof that you survived what was meant to destroy you. They're reminders of every battle you fought and won, even if winning just meant getting back up off the floor. You've been to hell and back, and they still think they can scare you. They still think they can control you. They're the fools, because you've already faced the worst they had to offer, and you came out the other side. You didn't just survive, you thrived. You took their poison and turned it into power. Look at you now. They can't even recognize the person standing in front of them, can they? They don't see the same softness, the same naivety, but that kindness, it's still there. It's just harder now, tempered like steel. It's the kind of kindness that doesn't flinch, that doesn't bend to their games. It's the kind of kindness that can look them in the eye and say, I know what you are, and you don't scare me anymore. They used to laugh at you, didn't they? Whisper behind your back, call you soft, weak. They'd smirk and say you were too nice for your own good. They thought they were clever, thought they had you figured out, but now they see you standing here with fire in your eyes, and those scars on your heart, and the laughter dies in their throats, because they realize that the person they mocked, the person they tried to break, is the one who's unshakable now. And that's the real joke, the real punchline. They tried to bury you, not realizing you were a seed. They tried to tear you apart, not realizing they were only making you stronger. And now they have to watch you rise, have to watch you become everything they'll never be. But don't mistake this for forgiveness. Don't think for a second that what they did is forgotten. You don't need to carry that anger, but you don't need to let go of the lesson either. Remember it. Let it sit in your bones. Let it be the fire that drives you not to become like them, but to become everything they can't stand: strong, kind, unbreakable. They thought kindness was your weakness, but kindness was your choice, and that's what makes it powerful. It wasn't something they could take from you, because it was never theirs to begin with. It was yours. It still is. So what? Now? Now you live. You live with that kindness, but with a sharp edge. You live knowing you're not the same person you once were. But that's a good thing. You're wiser now, smarter. You know the value of your own heart, and you're not about to hand it over to just anyone. You've learned the difference between those who deserve your love and those who only want to use it. You don't need to become cold. You don't need to shut down. You just need to be careful, be aware, be the kind of person who can smile even in the face of betrayal. Because you know, it doesn't define you, it defines them. And that's their punishment. isn't it? That's the real justice they get to live with themselves, with what they've done while you walk forward unburdened. You're free. Free in a way they'll never be, because they're trapped in their own misery, their own emptiness. You, though, you've got a future. You've got a fire inside you that they can never extinguish. They tried to turn your gift into a curse, but instead, you've made it your greatest strength. So go on. Live your life. Be kind, but this time, do it with your eyes wide open. This time, let them see that their worst mistake was underestimating you, because the person standing here, now, the person you've become, you're unstoppable, and they're going to regret ever thinking otherwise. They thought they could play you, thought they could toy with your heart and leave you shattered. They believed you'd never bounce back, that you'd stay down, licking your wounds in the shadows. But look at you now. You're not the victim in their story anymore. You've rewritten the whole damn script, and they don't get to decide the ending. They wanted you weak, wanted you crying in the dark, wanted you questioning your own worth, because that's what they needed. They needed you small. They needed you broken so they could feel bigger. They needed your light, because they have none of their own. They drained you like a leech, fed on your kindness like vultures circling a corpse. But they didn't realize you're not a corpse. You're not something to be fed on. You're a living, breathing storm they never saw coming. You see, they've spent their whole lives manipulating, using, and hurting others, because it's the only way they know how to feel powerful. It's the only way they know how to exist. They can't stand the thought of someone like you, someone who has the strength to be kind, to be forgiving, because it exposes everything they lack. It makes them feel inferior, and they can't handle that. So they had to tear you down. They had to try. But what they don't understand is that you've been forged in the fire. Every time they stabbed you in the back, every time they lied to your face, every time they left you standing alone, you grew stronger. You learned. You adapted. You evolved. They thought they were beating you down, but all they were doing was building you up. Look at what you've become. Look at the strength in your eyes now, the steel in your spine. You're not the same person they took advantage of. You're not the same person they used and discarded. You've risen from the ashes they left you in, and now you're a force of nature. You've turned their betrayal into your fuel, their lies into your armor. They wanted you to believe you were the problem. They wanted you to carry the blame for their cruelty, their manipulation. But you've seen through it now. You see it for what it is, a pathetic attempt to make themselves feel better about the hollow shells they've become. They wanted to project their emptiness onto you, wanted to drag you down into their pit of misery, because that's the only place they know how to live. But you're done playing their game. You've stepped out of their shadow, and now you're standing in your own light. They don't get to dictate your story anymore. They don't get to decide who you are. You do. And you've chosen to be kind, not because you're weak, but because you're stronger than they'll ever be. It's a strength they can't touch, can't steal, and it terrifies them. They can't handle the truth. Can they the truth that you survived their worst? The truth that you took everything they threw at you and turned it into power. They look at you now, and they don't see a victim. They don't see someone they can push around anymore. They see a warrior, a survivor, someone who's taken every scar, every wound, and woven it into a tapestry of resilience. And that's the part that really gets to them. That's the part they can't stand. They thought they'd break you. Thought they'd turn your heart cold. Make you just as bitter and twisted as they are. But you didn't give them that satisfaction. You didn't let them win. Instead, you wrote. Those you chose to keep your heart open, even when it would have been easier to close it off, to turn your back on the world. You chose to keep believing in people even when they gave you every reason not to. That's not naivety. That's courage. That's real, unshakable strength. They'll never understand it. And that's fine. It's not for them to understand. It's for you. It's for the ones who know what it's like to be burned by the people they trusted most. It's for the ones who've walked through hell with a smile, who've kept their hearts open, even when it felt like they were being ripped apart from the inside. Because you know now, don't you? You've learned the hardest lesson of all, that not everyone deserves your kindness. Not everyone is worthy of the light you carry. But that doesn't mean you should let it go out. No, it means you hold on to it tighter, protect it fiercely, because it's yours. It's your gift, your power. It's what makes you who you are and who you are now. You're unstoppable. You've been there, been through the worst they had to offer, and you came out the other side. You didn't just survive, you thrived. You turned their knives into swords, their lies into a shield. And now you're standing here stronger than ever. They look at you and they see a reminder of everything they couldn't break. They see someone who refused to give up. Someone who refused to become as empty and bitter as they are. And it eats them alive. It tears them apart from the inside, knowing that despite everything, you're still kind. You're still standing. You've become their greatest fear. A good person who's been to hell and back and decided to keep fighting anyway. Because that kind of strength, that kind of resilience, it's rare, it's powerful. It's something they'll never have. So let them watch. Let them see what they tried to destroy. Let them see the person they underestimated, the person they thought they could use and throw away. Let them see you now standing tall, unbroken with fire in your eyes and a smile on your face. Because you know who you are, and you know what you've survived. You've turned their betrayal into your armor, their lies into your truth. And now you're walking forward, leaving them behind in the dust. They don't get to follow you anymore. They don't get to be a part of your story. This is your life, and you're going to live it with the same kindness they once tried to kill. The same kindness they thought was a weakness. But now, they see it for what it really is, a strength they could never hope to possess. So go ahead, live boldly, love fiercely, be kind, not because the world deserves it, but because you do. You deserve to live without the chains they tried to bind you with. You deserve to be free, to be happy, to be exactly who you are, without apology. Because in the end, the greatest revenge is living well. The greatest victory is being everything they said you couldn't be. And you, my friend, you're already winning.